This is Mark Holton from the original Leprechaun and Leprechaun Returns, and you're listening to the Don't Go Out There Horror Podcast.
Fuck you, Lucky Charms.
In a world where zombies, ghosts, serial killers, and vampires all exist, it's Nico, Brian, Mike, and Dustin, and they are all that stand between you and the films that could end the world. Welcome to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Podcast.
Happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody, and welcome back to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Review Podcast. Just want to thank all our fans and listeners. We really appreciate all of your continued support. We got a nice little fun bonus for you guys on this holiday, but before we jump into that, just a quick shout out to our social medias, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you just search for that on those platforms, you'll find us. And, of course, check out our website, don'tgoouthere.com, which will have our social media links as well. But we also have our episodes, our interviews, our blog, our store, anything podcast related, you'll find there.
All right, guys. So we get a lot of questions about how fans and supporters can show us even more love, what they can do to help further the show, how they can support us more. Well, now we're offering a way that you can show us some love and support us, but you can also get yourself some awesome swag and memorabilia. You can go over to lootcrate.com and sign up for one of their subscription boxes. Loot Crate is an awesome service that each month for a fee, they'll send you a box in the mail that's got some great prizes and great merchandise in it. And you can pick your theme. You got pop culture, you got film and TV, animation, gaming, WWE if you're a wrestling fan like myself and like Mike. And so, yeah, you can head over to lootcrate.com, sign up for one of their subscription boxes, use the code BF15. That's right, BF15. B as in Bravo, as in what you would say after a Rob Zombie movie. F as in fart noise, as in what you would give the Babadook or Joyride. Or 15 as in how many stars David Arquette's performance as Deputy Dewey deserved. So BF15 is the code. Go over to Loot Crate, sign up. Once you sign up, if you DM us proof or tweet us a picture of your receipt showing that you signed up, once you show us that you have used our promo code to subscribe to a Loot Crate box, then we're going to do something cool. We're going to get your information. We're going to send you some extra swag, some extra memorabilia from us, the show, just so we can show you our love and appreciation. So going over to Loot Crate, what are you waiting for? Do it.
And, like we always do for the holidays, for, the horror holidays, we like to do a bonus for you guys. Last year we had the awesome Lyndon Porco on. This year we're reviewing the very first original Leprechaun. Let's just give our general overviews real quick. I think we all are going to say this at the end, but this is not a very good movie at all.
Right.
But I will still say that I think, and no pun intended, this movie does have some charm to it. I will say, I guess it's just because Warwick Davis does such a good performance as the Leprechaun. That's really the only thing I can say is I think Warwick Davis is great. But yeah, I mean, we're going to get into it later, but this movie is not great by any means. But it has a little charm to it. Brian, you want to go next? General overview?
Yeah. Everybody seen the Leprechaun say, yeah.
Unfortunately, yeah.
So, yeah, like Nico said, this movie is not good. But, I mean, it's definitely reached cult status. I mean, it spawned like 6 sequels or something. But, so, we all know time kind of plays tricks in your head. And with this, it definitely did as far as I'm concerned. But I still do hold, some nostalgia for it. It definitely has some charm. And unlike Nico, pun was definitely intended right there. It'd been like well over 2 decades since I've seen this movie. But anyway, I did see this movie a lot of times back when I was little. I used to rent it a lot from T&M, not TNA video, T&M video. Rest in peace, T&M video. But until this rewatch, I had a decently favorable memory of the thing. But upon that, rewatch, I really only remembered like one scene and like one line, which we just talked about. Great fucking line, by the way. We'll get into that. But I mean, that's got to be one of the best horror lines ever, in my opinion. But to say this one didn't hold up would be pretty nice. But with that said, and this may be why I had a semi-favorable memory of it. It would be a decent movie to introduce horror to a kid that was getting into horror. And I mean, like, there's no nudity. It's super cheesy, not at all scary. I mean, just not even that gory. I mean, it was almost PG-13 horror comedy for God's sakes until the last minute. So
I think
Go ahead.
I think the only reason it wasn't PG-13 is because it uses the F word 4 times, and you're only allowed it once in a PG-13. Because other than that, you're right. This is a kid-friendly film.
Yeah. And that sounds weird, but it's for a horror movie, but to me, like, this would be a good one, like I said, to introduce kids to. And maybe that's why I have some nostalgia for it. But like, it's just one of those B-list horror movies from the early 80s, but it was made in the 90s. And to enjoy this, I think you've got to be in like about fourth grade or something, or super drunk, which definitely not both at the same time, by the way. But there's some parts and lines. To be fair, I can see how this is one of those movies how some people have a soft spot for. There's like I said, there's definitely some charms and parts of it. But go ahead.
Go ahead, Mike.
I don't I I don't get it. I don't get the charm. I don't get the nostalgia people have for this film. This movie fucking sucks. I think it's not enjoyable whatsoever. I watched it twice because I hate myself. Um, I will say I think Warwick Davis does a good job as the Leprechaun. I think that I like looking at Jennifer Aniston. That was nice. Call me sometime, Jen. Um, Brad did you wrong. I'm there to pick up the pieces. No big deal. Um, Listen, this movie is almost too kid friendly for me, and I know that's weird because I like movies like Halloween Town and stuff like that. But this just does not work for me at all in the slightest. It has no good kills. Even the pogo stick kill, which I know the movie's kind of famous for, sucks ass. He has a bloody face and he doesn't even hit his face. It's just it's a mess to me. None of the characters are likable except for Ozzy. Even little Alex is kind of a little shit sometimes. Um, and again, I like that the cast is recognizable. This kid is in so
No way.
this kid is in so much stuff from the '90s. Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. He's in Mr. Nanny with Hulk Hogan, brother. He, and you have Ozzy, who's from fucking Pee Wee, and he's also the older Stewell Angel in A League of Their Own. The You're Gonna Lose, that kid. Yeah, he plays the older version of that guy. So again, recognizable cast, but just not a lot of likable characters. I think that kind of brings this movie down for me. And plus, the premise is so fucking stupid to me. There is nothing scary about a leprechaun. Even this fucked up looking one, like he's from the oxycodone ridden hills of West Virginia. He looks like shit. Warwick Davis does the best he can, but this movie is just not for me. How in the world this got an 8-movie franchise or whatever it is, I'll never fucking know. But there are sequels that are better than this one because at least they're so bad it's good. And that doesn't have the charm for me. So prepare for me to shit on a movie for the next hour and a half or however long we decide to go. Can't wait.
Yeah, so when we reviewed Terrifier, I thought we'll probably never review a movie that I hate as much as this. And then the very next week we followed it up with House of Wax, and I thought, okay, I hate this one equally as much. Surely we'll never review another movie that I hate as much as this. Lo and behold, I hate this movie worse than both of those. I agree with Mike. I watched this movie twice because I hate myself. I watched it the first time and I was like, man, I can't even take notes right now because I'm so annoyed with this. The second time I watched it, I didn't take much notes, but I did just because I was like, man, this is a 2-pack of unwashed ass. And the thing about this movie is I understand if it plays a nostalgic role. Like we discussed in our group chat, Brian said this movie has a nostalgic factor to him because he saw it when he was young. I did too. I remember watching this movie in the mid 90s, early 90s when I was just a wee lad. And, it was okay at the time, But you want to talk about something not aging well. That's a big factor with Nico. If something doesn't age well, then that takes his score down significantly. This is case in point. This did not age well. This aged like 2% milk on a hot summer day. And
But like you say, it don't age as well. But I don't even think it aged well in the '90s. Like I don't.
Yeah.
I think it was like a early. It looks like it was
Yep.
made in the late '70s, early '80s, but it was '93.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like.
And that's when you said that a minute ago, that this is a great, like, this is a 80s horror film. Problem is, it was made in the 90s. Like, that was like a light bulb for me, because that's exactly how I felt. I just hadn't expressed it that way. So the thing about this is like, you know, a movie's bad when prime, fine ass Jennifer Aniston can't save it. And when I say she can't save it, like, her character sucks so bad that it made me not even like the way she looked in this movie. Yeah, so I mean, the only redeeming factors in this whole movie was Mark Holton, who played Ozzy. He did a phenomenal job at that character. And then Robert Gorman. I'm a sucker for Robert Gorman. He basically was my 90s, right? Like, he was in Rookie of the Year, phenomenal film.
Yeah,
he was in Mr. Nanny with Hulk Hogan, brother, like Mike said. He was in Forever Young, underrated movie with Mel Gibson. That movie will get you right in the feels.
God damn, that's depressing, Dustin. Fuck.
It is depressing, but it's a great fucking movie.
Absolutely.
And so Robert Gorman is one of those unsung, forgotten 90s stars that he needs to get his flowers. But anyway, that's the two redeeming factors of this movie, was the dynamic between those two characters. Other than that, I don't have a whole hell of a lot of good things to say about this movie. When we decided we're going to do this for St. Patty's Day, I said, only halfway joking, we should do Leprechaun in the Hood.
Which we should have.
And after watching this, I stand by it 100%. I'm not halfway joking anymore. We should have done Leprechaun in the Hood. I even talked to one of my best friends, David, earlier this evening. He called me, asked if I want to go have a drink, and I said, I can't. I got to do show prep. I got to make sure all my shit's in order because we're doing this episode tonight. He said, what are you reviewing? I said, Leprechaun. He said, In the Hood? I said, I wish. He goes, dude, that's the best one.
He's
the best one. Wrong. He's not wrong. Like, I was joking when I said that, but now in retrospect, anyway, there's always next year, brothers. Go ahead.
Back to the Hood is a piece of dog shit, but In the Hood is good.
In the Hood.
Hey, y'all were talking about Robert Gorman, but I could have sworn that you, especially Mike and Dustin, would have definitely brought up the fact that he was in Boy Meets World from one episode. I mean, you guys are Boy Meets World like experts.
That's right. He was in Boy Meets World.
He should have been a constant character, but that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And to be fair, Leprechaun 3 is the best one, but we'll just move on from that. The Vegas one is the best to me.
Wait, what is that? Is that? Do I hear it?
That's the one in Vegas.
Is that Nico with a bad movie take? Can't be. I'm kidding, brother. I'm kidding.
This guy.
I'm kidding.
Hey, don't go out there listening. We'll have interviews for our fourth co-host pretty soon. Just DM the pod account. All right, y'all ready to start? Let's get this. Oh man, I feel bad for this movie. It's about to take a beat down. All right, let's start it off. Film starts with a leprechaun petting his pot of gold and opening credits with Irish music playing. Title card. We see his limo driving, and O'Grady gets out and turns the bottle of Jameson upside down, and his wife asks what's gotten into him, and we don't have money for a limo. She asks what's going on, and he tells her they're rich. He opens up a package, and we see him break open his mother's ashes, but it's a pot of gold. He says he caught the leprechaun and made him take him to the gold. She's skeptical. Miss O'Grady makes tea and hears a little kid singing Mary Had a Little Lamb from the luggage. She hears a voice beg for help out of the luggage, and then the leprechaun emerges. Miss O'Grady falls down the basement stairs in fear, killing herself. Dan hears his wife's voice, but the leprechaun enters with the tea. He asks, what have you done with my wife? He runs and grabs a 4-leaf clover. He fears the clover, and Dan shoots at him with a gun and chases him into the basement. He uses his wife as a ventriloquist and says he should have killed you when he had a chance, and shoots the leprechaun. He says he'll come back. Dan puts him in a crate and puts the 4-leaf clover on top as he nails it shut. Dan pours gas on the crate, and Leprechaun says, "Don't strain yourself," as he drags his wife upstairs. Dan has a stroke induced by the Leprechaun. He falls to the floor as he tries to ignite the Leprechaun, and now we see the crate shaking. 10 years later, and we get aerial shots of Tori and her dad driving the countryside. They pull up to a house, and Tori says, "This is a joke, right?" She does not like this house. She complains there's no pool, mall, no cable. Quite a bit of cobwebs have formed in the basement. The two go into the basement. She can't believe how bad it is. Tori wants to go get a motel away from the house, and she freaks out when she sees this giant tarantula-looking spider. She runs back upstairs. She tries to call the hotel and runs into Nathan and knocks off his paint over. She offers to pay him, but he wants an apology, not the money. Nathan laughs at her complaints, and now she says she's not afraid of anything. Dad comes outside and says they're leaving, but now she wants to stay. Now we meet Ozzy and Alex. He shoots Ozzy with the same gum and a slingshot. He wants Ozzy to tell more stories. JD introduces himself to the two, that's Tori's dad, and offers to help, but he can't due to liability. Alex says the little kid wants a beer, and the two start to play fight. All right, Brian, that's the two opening scenes I got. What you got for me?
Yeah, so I'm gonna jump around in these first set of scenes here, so bear with me. But this opening credit scene with Mr. O'Grady. First of all, he asks about the package funeral home delivered when it's clearly in fucking sight of him. It's right next to him on the fucking table. So I don't know. And who edited this thing? All right, so he shoots him, and that somehow affects him here, but not later in the movie. But okay. But look, it's right at the 8 minute mark. Like I don't know if it knocked him out or something, but you can't see shit because the fucking credits are still on the screen. But the biggest it has this weird like dissolve scene cut here, but then it picks up right exactly in the same spot. So I don't know, there had to be some huge fuck up, or they wanted to transition to like a dummy he picks up and not the leprechaun. But that's, I don't know, it's hugely noticeable. Also, the wires that cause the suitcase to wobble are visible, like especially when Mrs. O'Grady gets close to it. So, and like I said, the production quality on this movie is, I mean, early 70s. Like it should not be 93. That's what just, it blows my mind. Mrs. O'Grady, my least favorite kill in this movie, and that's saying a lot because the kills are not good in this movie. But now this franchise gets more into like creative kills as it goes on, and those are at least, a little bit more enjoyable than this one. But falling down the stairs, blah, I hate it. Ventriloquist scene, come on, Leprechaun, like you couldn't even use like your fingers and move her mouth. I feel like that was a missed opportunity there by the writers. But I did like the line, "It's okay, I just have a little kink in me neck." Are you kidding? That's a great line. I will give him that for sure. Jennifer Aniston's first film kind of reminds me of like if I see Masters of the Universe on and I see Courtney Cox and I'm like, what the fuck? I forgot she was in this movie. But unlike Cox and Katherine Heigl, Aniston doesn't shy away from this being her debut, unlike those do. In fact, I think they used a picture of her and got her blessing for the direct follow-up to this in Leprechaun Returns. You can listen to our interview with the star of that film, Lyndon Porco, on don'tgoouthere.com. And by the way, her cell phone, I mean, I thought only Zach Morris had a cell phone in the early 90s, but I was definitely proven wrong here. I never understood the heart attack to Mr. O'Grady either, or the stroke, or whatever happened to him there. If the Leprechaun can do that, I don't understand why he doesn't just do that all the time. And this set of scenes introduces us to Nathan, who looks to me like her dad, and I cannot think of her dad's name, but her dad looks just like a Randy Travis lookalike to me. And while we're on that point, Nathan, the guy, looks just like Kevin Bacon from Friday the 13th / Tremors. So it was kind of in that same area. He looks just like, I don't know what they put on the call sheet and said, hey, we can't get these guys, so we're taking lookalikes. The last thing I got to say about this group of scenes is just, a friend of the show, Mark Holton, playing Ozzy, with Robert Gorman, who we've already kind of touched on. They've got a really charming relationship for sure. There's this movie that came out in the early 90s, like maybe a little bit before that, called like Three Ninjas. And something, yeah, and something about these two, their relationship, it makes me think of that movie, especially in their scene later on when they're going to the find the gold and stuff. But that's all I had on the first group.
Hey, Mike, before you go, I just wanted to say, when you brought up the when you brought up Nathan's look, Dead Meat had me crying laughing. He said he looked like a hunky Aladdin.
I just love that those comparisons, the Randy Travis and the Trimmers, Kevin Bacon, because if there's one thing I know about Nico is that he's gonna love Trimmers forever and ever. Amen.
Oh, I see what you did there.
All right, I'll see y'all next show.
Country music reference.
Wait, what? I don't get it. What happened?
Justin, I love you deeper than the holler, buddy. Stronger than the song of the whippoorwill. That's my love for you. All right. So, oh boy.
What just happened?
Oh, that's going to be the best. Hell, that's the most positive thing I'm going to say the rest of the show, except for Jen Aniston, which I've already gone into. So I'm kind of fucked. This opening scene makes me laugh, and I know we just kind of got done with horror comedy month. This movie would have fit to me. This movie, and again, we kind of talked about it. It was designed that way early on before they decided to go hard R and make it a little bit more horror. That's why there's some extra scene. I mean, it's funny. Just look, Warwick Davis is good as this character. I think the acting is fine here by him, and I think throughout the series he almost gets better at this role, just really playing into the camp and the cheesiness. But in this movie, it takes itself a little too seriously, which I think they should have stuck with their original direction, and I would have probably enjoyed this movie a little better. Opening scene is fine. Don't care about the O'Grady's, honestly, because, like you said, right off the bat, he's a dumbass. She's not very likable. Apparently, she's good at making tea. Good for her. But, I mean, you don't really get to see the kill here, and that kind of is a bummer. And then it's just a very stereotypical plot for a leprechaun to be after his pot of gold. And I know, well, what else are you going to do with a leprechaun? Well, they prove throughout the rest of the series you can do other shit if you want with a leprechaun. You can send him to space. You can send him to Las Vegas. You can send him to Compton not once but twice. I mean, you can do whatever you want to do. But this is just very plot A, plot B to me. I'm not a big fan. Let me get to the modern characters. Jen Aniston is a stuck-up bitch. Not her, but her character in this movie. She's terrible. She's ungrateful for her dad providing a roof over her head. That's annoying as hell. She has a cell phone in 1993 or whatever this is. That's absurd. I barely had one in 2003, so, whatever. I kind of talked about who, each of the actors, but Nathan is also not a likable character. You kind of feel for him like a little bit there in the beginning with the paint thinner thing, but then he's kind of an asshole. Like, I don't know, he's kind of misogynistic as well. Kind of down, he kind of thinks that Jen Aniston's stupid. I don't like that. I don't like some of the comments he makes. But he's jacked. I give him credit for that. My brother's hitting the gym, so that's good. He said hunky Aladdin or sexy Aladdin or whatever. Well, man, I don't know. He looks like if Aladdin and Billy Ray Cyrus had a baby. That's kind of the vibe Nathan's giving me there. By the way, there's a scene here where the leprechaun just has this weird breathing shit in the shadows, and it's fucking creepy. Like, not in the good horror movie way either. Like, why the fuck are you breathing that way? I do like Alan's lines. He's got a lot of good one-liners with the blue is not your color after he gets paint all over Ozzy's face. I would kick the shit out of that kid if he put paint all over my face. Fuck this kid. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have. And I really, I noticed something, and since we used to hear with Mary Had a Little Lamb, the opening thing. What's with the nursery rhymes? It's fucking weird. It serves no purpose later in the movie, and so it's just kind of him pretending to be a kid or whatever. But I feel like a better movie would have been to just take Mother Goose rhymes and make them a slasher series on Netflix or something. That's a better idea, because if you just did Mother Goose directed by Rob Zombie as a Netflix series, I'd watch it. Let's go.
Hell yeah, we'd all watch it if Rob Zombie was involved. Anyway, so the opening to this movie is okay, and that's probably the nicest thing I'll say on this episode. But the opening is okay. We know what's going on. We get right to the shit. We see the leprechaun early, which is good. And by the way, the absolute best thing about this, I know I've said that, I love Alex and I love Ozzy, but the best thing about this to me was the Leprechaun makeup and design. Like the look of the Leprechaun was cool. So when we see this, to me, there's hope. I don't like the early kill though. But with Mrs. O'Grady, it just didn't make sense to me because later in the film, the Leprechaun only killed when he felt like it was necessary, when the gold was really in jeopardy. Well, actually, that's not true. There's no real rhyme or reason to the why this motherfucking Leprechaun killed people, and that's annoying. But he killed Mrs. O'Grady, and for what? Like, he pushed her down the scene. I agree with you, Brian. That's my least favorite kill as well. When you said that, I kind of lit up a little bit because I thought that I would be alone in saying that's my least favorite kill. But it's just bad. She had no idea about the gold. She was actually appalled at the way, Mr. O'Grady had all that money and the way he was acting. So to me, if anything, the Leprechaun could have manipulated her to getting his gold back if he was, a little bit more patient, but that's neither here nor there. Tori is such an insufferable bitch. No offense, but her character does suck. Mike is 100% right. And it's unfortunate for Jen Aniston because she's so likable in basically everything else. Even Horrible Bosses, when she's this rapey dentist, she still has her qualities where, it's okay, because if she was my dentist, let me tell you, she could do whatever, pal. But
what's your favorite Jen Aniston film right now? What's your favorite Jen Aniston?
We're the Millers, because of that stripper scene.
Okay.
Can I get a high five?
We're the Millers, and it's not fucking close, and it's because of the dance scene.
Oh,
yes.
Mike, here's the thing.
Along
Mike
came
and I
Polly.
Got my girl Emma Roberts. What the fuck is up?
That's true, Mike. And Nico, that's a good one too. But here's the thing.
Space. That's mine.
Oh, that's a good one too. Mike and I have been on the same page a lot lately. Brian and I have been on the same page a lot lately. Nico, our time's coming, pal. I can feel it. Anyway.
I can't feel it. I am not Phil Collins. I can't feel that shit in the air tonight.
The thing about this movie the thing about the scene is, like, why are Nathan and Alex and Ozzy, why are they even there? Like, you get Tori and her dad, like, they're going on this vacation or whatever. Like, it's kind of confusing how they all come together. It seems like just a bullshit way to put these characters together and make these strangers interact for the rest of the film. Don't like that. The line from Alex about the liability insurance is hilarious to me, because I think it's peak comedy when kids deliver adult-like information in a serious way. Like, he wasn't joking when he said it, but it was hilarious. Like, I that was great comedy to me when he's like, I'd love to let you help, but our liability insurance only covers us. That was great. But yeah, so, and then the Leprechaun itself is, for the duration of this movie, is such a corny one-liner villain. It's almost like it's a Freddy Krueger ripoff, and Freddy Krueger's one-liners were so much better. So it's almost like I'm not going to say what I was going to say. I don't want to get us canceled. It's almost like a slightly less intelligent person watched all the Nightmare on Elm Street films and was like, how could I rip these jokes off, and then threw that shit in a blender, and this is what we got. Nathan and Tori's characters, they're very stock character filling for early 90s. And what I mean by that is, like, you get Tori's this stuck-up preppy girl. Nathan's this misogynistic buff guy that looks good, but she's intrigued because of his bad boy image and blah blah blah. So yeah, it's just, these characters suck. They don't do anything for me. Ozzy and Alex's dynamic's great, but it's very like Of Mice and Men. Like, it's very
very Lenny. Ozzy is Lenny for fucking
he is
sure.
Lenny, but it works. Like, honestly, Ozzy would have been a perfect character to just pick up and drop into Friday the 13th Part 6. But, like, he would have been a perfect character because we talked about on that episode how kind of cheesy funny that movie is. Ozzy would have been great in that as Ozzy. But anyway, so it's just an okay open for me. But sadly, that's probably the nicest thing that I'll say, because this is probably my favorite set of scenes. We'll see.
Hey, before you go, Nico, I feel like the creators of this movie watched some Chucky movie, thought, hey, we can make a tiny villain too, and just did all the wrong shit about the Child's Play series. and this Leprechaun is not even close to as likable or memorable as Chucky. Like, there is nothing redeemable about this stupid fucking green thing. No offense to Warwick Davis, just the character itself is not. It's not Chucky. It's not Freddy Krueger. It's like a watered down version of those things. It's like they put them in the blender or some shit.
All right.
Agreed.
Tori goes downstairs with 2 drinks, calling for Nathan. We see the leprechaun asleep inside the crate. He awakes when Tori drops a tray of drinks on the ground after like this sheet falls on top of her. Nathan tells Tori about Dan O'Grady, and she calls Nathan weird for having a job in a vehicle. They go to open the crate but hear a scream outside. Ozzy got paint all over him. Tori tells Ozzy where the bathroom is to clean up. Ozzy cleans up some and he hears a child singing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. He follows the voice into the basement. The voice asks for help and Ozzy knocks the clover off the crate. The leprechaun breaks out of the crate now. He asks for a lighter and eats a giant bug. Ozzy is in shock. Leprechaun tells him who he is, a shoemaker by trade. He asks Ozzy if he's seen his gold. He runs away and gets out because his powers are too weak right now. Ozzy tells everyone about the leprechaun and no one believes him. Nathan says, let's go down there and check it out. Tori offers to go with him and Ozzy says that stick isn't big enough. They get into the basement. Ozzy tells them the leprechaun destroyed the crate, not him. He now describes its appearance. They hear a noise and he says that's him. Nathan and Alex check it out, but it's just a big rat. Ozzy is adamant there was a leprechaun. They all go back outside and see a big rainbow. Ozzy says they gotta go see what's at the end of the rainbow. There's always a pot of gold. Alex and Ozzy go check it out. Tori wants to get back to painting. They get to the end of the rainbow. It's an old rusty truck. Ozzy finds a gold coin, then a bag of coins appears. Ozzy says that's what the leprechaun was talking about. Ozzy bites the coin to see if it's real, but somehow swallows it. Alex says they're gonna hide it except for one to get them checked out. They're gonna hide the coins in the well. They can get Ozzy an operation to make you smart and fix your brain. Nathan is giving Tori some painting lessons and leaves to go get more paint. Tori walks to beside the truck and the leprechaun is underneath it and rubs her leg. She thinks it's Nathan and now notices he's by the house and she gets scratched really bad on her leg. She falls to the ground and saw something run off behind the trees. They hear a cat's meow and JD puts his hand into a hole in a tree and gets a really bad bite. They all load up and the truck won't start. Alex pops the hood and gets it working. Then Leprechaun gets on a tricycle. All right, Brian, go ahead. Rides the fuck out of that tricycle.
Yes, that's a callback, baby. We love it.
Nice. Dustin brought it up a little bit in the last group of scenes, but yeah, I want to touch on it too. I thought Leprechaun's makeup looks tremendous. It's definitely one of the bright spots of the movie for me and helped the franchise because if you look at Leprechaun Returns that just came out in 2018, I mean that's only almost 30 years later, and it doesn't look any like quote unquote better. So I think it still holds up very well. So apparently applying the makeup to Warwick Davis took like 3 hours, and taking it off took another 40 minutes, which seems about pretty standard for what we heard from Robert Englund and Kane Hodder in their interviews. Find those interviews at don'tgooutthere.com. Anyway, so big props to the makeup artist Gabrielle Bartalas, and this is something I didn't really understand because it showed the leprechaun like in the corner when Jennifer Aniston went down in the basement, but like he doesn't even get out of the crate until Ozzy moves the 10-year-old four-leaf clover, which is still magnificently intact, by the way, 10 years later, but we won't get into that. But unless I missed something, like I didn't understand that at all. And I also thought it was like a really poor choice of soundtrack for when they were down in the basement too. Like the leprechaun flutes, they aren't even remotely scary. They should have at least went with some, actually scary, like tense music maybe. But also I wanted to point out that Ozzy says, don't go in there like 4 times. And I was like, oh God, it's so close. Just one more word and we could have gotten the don't go out there. Also, I listened to this podcast with Mark Paul Gosselaar. It's a Saved by the Bell podcast called Shout Out Zach to the Future. But he talks about on there like this kind of behind the scenes thing that Mario Lopez, who played AC Slater, used to do. And like every time he wore a tank top or a sleeveless shirt, you will always notice that his hands are like at a 90-degree angle because he's always like holding something because he wants to like have that pump in his arm. And I noticed that shit with Nathan here in the basement because he had to have that stick, and like everything he grabbed, his arms were like he always at a 90-degree angle because he's trying to flex a little bit.
Yeah, the brother's triceps were popping, son.
So anyway, little trick that I learned from that podcast anyway to look for. The rainbow scene, I thought it was really out of place, and like those effects look like, again, it was like the 60s or 70s, not the 90s. But I did think it was a very charming scene, like between Ozzy and Alex. I loved him calling and saying nice going Jaws. I don't know, like I said, it was just charming. It was out of place for this movie, but it was charming and one of the more enjoyable scenes for me in the movie anyway. Then we get this weird ass leprechaun rubbing Aniston's leg scene under the truck. I mean, even if it was him, like, who the hell does that? I think that's pretty terrible writing. And also, come on, the real Randy Travis would never stick his hand in some random damn tree knothole, even if it was a cat. So shit. I mean, I guess unless he was, digging up bones or, using on the other hand. So anyway, lastly, the tricycle scene. So again, the writer's room. The conversation was, okay, they're supposed to be scared of this leprechaun, but let's put him on a tricycle in broad daylight. And to me, he looked like the little cowboy in Happy Gilmore when he was on his tricycle riding to his happy place. That's what he reminded me of. Anyway, that's all I have for this group.
Yeah, so very limited notes here, especially on this set of scenes, because this is where it just completely fucking loses me. I will say a good one-liner by Warwick Davis is, "Hey, Tubby, you have a light for the leprechaun's pipe?" As soon as he gets out of that crate, shit was funny. Don't know why. What the fuck? I don't know why this leprechaun had to be a shoemaker. Why he was so far down the leprechaun, or totem. I mean, we kind of learned, and I know that's elf, but I mean, I feel like there's only limited jobs out here for leprechaun, elves, gnomes, trolls, whatever. Just saying. God damn, Tori is thirsty. I mean, just absolutely dying of dehydration. Jesus
This sister
Christ.
starving.
It's a famine. The Great Depression. Everywhere Nathan goes, Tori has to go with her. It is incredible. By the way, and this is something I noticed throughout the whole film, the lighting in this movie bugged the fuck out of me. It was very dark. And I'm probably the only nerd that gives a shit. But there was something about the way they shot this movie with the lights that really just took me out of it. Very dark, could barely see anything. Like, I don't know, maybe I just have shitty eyes, which I do. But I'm not going to blame myself for their shitty lighting rig either. Nitpick, but bug the fuck out of me. That's all. Look, the rainbow scene is kind of touching, even though randomly finding a bag of gold is whatever. But that rainbow looks. I forgive 1993, but I can't forgive it. It looks like shit. There's better CGI in the 80s. The thing, I don't really want to hear this. Look, leg scratching thing. Here's my problem. Even if that happened, why would she assume that it's fucking Nathan? Why would she assume that?
Exactly.
Just saw him walk the other way. Fuck this stupid movie. God damn it. But also, look, if Randy Travis stuck his hand in there and got killed by a cat, he would just be one of the 3 wooden crosses on the right side of the highway. I want the big gold coin.
I love it. Yeah. So going back to the first set of scenes, like, she's afraid to open a fucking crate in the basement. What the fuck could be in that goddamn crate to where she would be afraid to open it? God damn it. I hate this movie. And then, why the hell does this leprechaun insist on shining shoes? Like, at first I thought it might have been a foot fetish, right? Like, I thought this guy just really wanted to touch the feet. But later in the film, when he finds the shoes that are not on feet, we'll get to that scene. We find out that it's a shoe fetish. It's not a foot fetish. Why? The special effects, like Mike said, when the gold appeared in the truck, that's very 80s, early 80s sci-fi-ish. It's not good CGI. I hated it. Alex and Ozzy, like I've said, that's the only good parts of this movie. But Alex's little line there about, hey, we can get you that surgery so they can fix your brain to make you smart. God, what a dick. Like, oh, holy shit, I felt bad for Alex, or for Ozzy. He's like, oh, I'm smart. And then Alex is like, well, yeah, but I meant in other way. Like, fuck you, kid. I understand Michael Jordan's sentiment when he said, man, fuck them kids. Like, god damn, that kid's an asshole. And then, like you guys said, how the hell did she think that was Nathan? He just walked the other way. And she didn't have her back turned. She wasn't bamboozled. She was facing the same way the whole time. And then all of a sudden she feels something on her leg and thinks, oh, that's Nathan.
Even if it was Nathan, what the fuck? Like,
even if it was, but at the same time, you could tell that she wanted to ride the baloney pony, because when she told her dad to take the bags back inside, she was with it. Like, just why you automatically assume it's him? And then, like you guys said, Randy Travis would not have stuck his hand down that tree stump. But if he had, on the other hand, see, I did it. Anyway, the last thing I'll say about the set of scenes, I do respect, one of the few things I respect that the Leprechaun is a fan of various modes of transportation. That's something that we don't really get from a lot of horror villains. And that, if this movie's not trying to take itself too seriously, which it's clearly fucking not, I respect that, the further we get in this movie, this Leprechaun will use anything with wheels on it to get around. I respect that. That's, work smarter, not harder. But that's one of the few good things I can say. Go ahead.
All right, they get to the hospital and tell Ozzy and Alex to go to the cafe, but instead they go to like this coin store to get the coin checked out. The store owner has never seen one like it. Alex wants to know what it's worth. He says it could be priceless, and he has to study it overnight. The shopkeeper hears like the tricycle bell and goes to explore. He goes to the safe to open it, and the trike rolls into him. He opens the safe and the Leprechaun pops out. He wants his coin and he bites his leg. He falls to the floor screaming. Leprechaun gets on a pogo stick and kills him by bouncing on his chest over and over. He polishes his shoe up at least. He gets his gold coin, 99 to go. He shines up a model like toy car. Now to the cafe, and Tori complains about how the day's gone and where Ozzy and Alex are. Leprechaun is now driving the car and a cop goes to pull him over. Big mistake, cop. Leprechaun pulls over and tells the cop he's 600 years old, and he thinks it's just a mask. He grabs the officer's face and digs into his face with his nails. Tori complains about the menu, and now we see the cop running in the woods from the Leprechaun. He hides behind a tree with his nightstick. Cop takes off running but sees the Leprechaun's hat on the ground. We get some cat and mouse. I wrote cat and mouse for way too long, and he throws a nightstick at him. Cop runs away and stops at a tree. Leprechaun falls on top of him and kills him with a neck break. Nathan says Tori looks skinny and offers her some meatloaf, but she doesn't eat meat. He takes off her shoe and says it's a dead animal. Ozzy and Alex show up now and almost reveals where they were. Leprechaun back at the house looking for his pot of gold, destroying the house. He finds some, lucky clovers, and gets a handful to eat. He checks himself out in the mirror. Then he grabs a bunch of boots and shoes and polishes them all up. All right, go ahead, Brian. That's the next two scenes.
Look, man, these guys are the worst painters of all time. I mean, shit, just look at their truck. How do you even get that much paint all over your truck? But I digress. So coin dude kill. I like it. You get the creepy music on the soundtrack finally. You get some attempt at some tension going. And I know you can say that, he's only pogo sticked in the chest but has blood on his face. But I mean, I just write that off kind of as, it cuts back and forth while he's pogoing. So while it's focused on the Leprechaun, I mean, he could have just been hitting in the face some. So Now, it's terribly done effect. I mean, it looks awful, but just the sheer creativeness of the pogo stick kill, I'm liking it. I'm down for it.
Yeah, I'm with you.
But then, come the fuck on. Are you kidding me with this kiddie car? I mean, like, you expect me to believe that motherfucker works for one thing. And not only that, can go like, what, 50 miles an hour? And the police scene, I'm not sure where I saw this in my research, so I'm not even sure who to give credit to here. But apparently, like him gouging the police officer in the shit, I don't even know. I thought it was his eyes at first, but it just looked like it was around his head, general head area. But when he pulled his hand back, I mean, it was supposed to be that his eyes, but I don't know. Anyway, they wanted more gore, so they went back and filmed this whole chase scene through the woods. Which again, like, if this motherfucker can run this fast or like transport around, why are we driving tricycles and go-karts and all these other modes of transportation Dustin was talking about? And this has got to be, I don't want to hear anybody say anybody is the worst cop ever in any movie because this this takes the cake. Like, this guy is number one, the worst cop of all time. I mean, he threw his fucking baton into the woods and then just fucking sat down. I mean, I don't know.
Dewey would have shot this little Irish midget in the face.
Anyway, this whole entire woods scene, I did not like it. It wasn't scary, not even tension filmed. And the neck snap, I mean, you added this entire fucking scene for a neck snap. I mean, look, these writers just, I mean, they made every one of these characters just fucking stupid. And this guy is not any different. We talked about it a little bit in the opening, and I'm sure everybody has this little fun fact, but the whole Lucky Clovers box was originally Lucky Charms, who had actually given the blessing to be used in this film, but revoked their permission once they saw it. Look, I'm shocked. I know that's shocking to everybody after watching this movie that they revoked their permission. But so they reshot it, made it Lucky Clovers. But I am very happy that this happened because it gave us, like I said, one of the best lines in cinema history that comes at the end of this film, which was added as basically a middle finger to General Mills. But I love it so much. And lastly, shit, Dustin talked about it, but this whole shoe shining OCD fetish thing is incredibly dumb and out of place. And I don't even understand why you would put it in there, because in the next scene, I mean, like, why would you put it in there? Because the next scene, when they think it's a bear, like, so that they can sound and feel even fucking dumber. Like, I don't even understand. So I don't even fucking understand that whole thing. So go ahead, Mike.
Okay. So I like the pogo stick kill as well. I want to come out and say, when I was criticizing it earlier, it was just the effects. I like the creativeness of the pogo stick kill. It's the only fucking creative kill in this whole fucking movie. So, spoiler alert, that's my favorite kill. That's really all there is to pick from, since only 4 people die in this slasher movie. Whatever. Look, Jennifer Aniston at this fucking diner is one of the most annoying people. Just eat the damn food, or something, or eat the food, or shut the fuck up. That's how I feel. Like, just some very unlikable characters that we're supposed to be pulling for, and I'm not pulling for them. I kind of hope Heart Stars and Horseshoe Clovers and Balloons gets their ass, to be quite honest. Like, I don't think any of them are fucking likable. The whole scene with the cop is unnecessary. Not only was the kill underwhelming, but I think the Tom and Jerry shit is just it's just pointless. Why is it there? I know that it was added later, if I'm not mistaken, to make it more scary. What the fuck is scary about that? I mean, good. The only thing that was scary about that was the fact that we had to watch that shit. Just look, not very awesome. Lucky Clovers actually made me giggle because I'm like 99% sure that's the Save-A-Lot brand my mom used to bring home back in the day when I wanted some cereal. Was Lucky Clovers.
I feel that.
Or Malto Meal probably has a different name, but I'm pretty sure that the Save-A-Lot brand was Lucky Clovers, or Clovers. I said, Burr, it's cold in here. Must be some clovers in the atmosphere, if you know that movie reference.
Oh, wow.
Wow. It's already been rotten, brother.
It's already been brought. Just a large chunk of this movie post the scene in the diner that I don't really give a shit about. Jeez. So that's pretty much all I had. I mean, there's really not much here, but bullshit. And I'm sorry, like I said it in the last set of scenes, they took what the best parts of Chucky and Freddy and tried to make it into one character, and they just failed fucking miserably. I think it's. There's been about two things I like so far. I like, I, I like a couple of lines and a pogo stick kill. That lets you know where my expectations are.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I agree. You ready for the shortest section I've ever given? So this set of scenes suck. They go on for far too long. The pogo death is at least creative. Like we haven't seen it. We haven't had a death by pogo stick in the entirety of the show. So I respect that. You know, I said when we did Valentine that we need more bow and arrow kills. Hell, I'd be all for more pogo stick deaths. I agree with what you said. There was no reason for his face to be bloodied because he got bitten in the leg and then he got pogoed in the chest. So his face being all cut up didn't make any sense, but I'll let it slide because it's at least creative that he just pogoed his heart until he died. The little kid go-kart that he, stole out of the store. First of all, what are the odds that fucking thing even had gas in it and could, whatever. Suspend belief, right? There's a fucking leprechaun in this movie. But at the same time, it shouldn't have went that fast. Like, that whole scene is just dog shit. That thing was hauling ass down the road. They should have left this with the original intent of that scene. They should have just left it with the cop's face getting mauled. We didn't need that woods chase scene. It went on for way too long. So the last thing that I'll say, and I'm going to toss it back to Nico because I don't have a lot, is that this set of scenes was 90% bad. Go ahead.
I said, boom, it's cold in here. Now I guess that shit stuck in my head. Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, but now I got to watch Bring It On tonight.
Oh, ice, ice, ice. I'm sure it's better to the viewers at home. Oh, wait, we don't have any, but I have no shirt on, so I'm sure it's great.
And I have no shirt.
It's not great whatsoever. It's, guys, this is
This
is a better horror movie than
I wouldn't be Arms Anderson with a shirt on, pal.
The four return back to the house and see the destroyed house. Ozzy and Alex roast each other. Nathan says it might have been a bear. Tori says, y'all can theorize, I'm leaving. Then she comes right back. Nathan gives her a broom to help clean up. They hear the track bell, but it's just Ozzy. Nathan goes to check out the bedrooms and Tori is going to get her purse to stay at a hotel. Ozzy asks Alex if you can kill a leprechaun. He says use a .357 Magnum. More track bell, but it's not the one on the table. Nathan tells him to stay inside and he goes outside to check it out. He trips over a log and falls into a bear trap. The leprechaun appears now and goes to hack at him with an axe. Nathan fights him off and the rest show up. Leprechaun starts biting his leg and Tori and Nathan swat at him. Ozzy calls the police sounding crazy as he can be. Alex brings Nathan a shotgun and he shoots the leprechaun. Tori gets Nathan out the trap and he hobbles to the bushes and wastes the remaining shells. Ozzy tells them of his horrible call to the emergency. They start to tend to Nathan's wounds and Nathan says he put 6 shells into it. He's dead. They help Nathan outside and get into the truck. They go to leave and the truck isn't starting again. Alex goes back out to try and fix it. He pops the hood and the leprechaun is under the hood. He pops out and breaks through the windshield and bites Ozzy's ear. They burn him with a lighter. He runs off into a barn and drives out with a pitchfork dune buggy. He drives into them and flips them over. He looks through the truck and wants the gold. The four take off running and make it inside the house, slamming Leprechaun's hand in the door, cutting it off. They try and barrier him out, and Tori gets her portable phone. She calls for the police, but the battery dies. Sheriff calls for a deputy, but it's the one that Leprechaun killed, and he's impersonating the voice, saying he'll go check it out. All right, go ahead, Brian. That's the next 2 scenes I got.
A fucking bear. A bear that shines shoes. Look, seriously, Ozzy is the only one in this place with any freaking brains. I don't even understand how the writers think that this made sense whatsoever. But also, let me just say, I think it's a terrible way that you finally show and reveal the Leprechaun to the 4 main characters here. And my God, at this choreography during this scene, I don't even want to call it a fight scene. I don't even know what the fuck is going on there. But it looked terrible. And if you're not even going to choreograph it like any better than that, at least like use real fast cuts and trick it that way. But wow, like that's just bad. And it's look, it's not even really fun at this point to criticize this anymore. I mean, it's like at this point that I'm trying to find stuff not to criticize because shit, wait, Nathan wasting 5 shells, which okay, but wasting 5 shells just shooting randomly into a bush. This is worth criticizing though because it goes back to this ridiculous writing. But what is Leprechaun's powers? Like he can transport in and out of shit like safes earlier, but can't transport or get into the truck when they're trying to get away. And let's just not mention this go-kart that he goes and makes real fast. Like you can even hear shit in the background, like the Jim Carrey in The Mask or something. And he makes this thing this fucking go-kart that's so super strong that it flips the truck like 3 times after barely running into it. Or how the hell did he get the police officer and the police car, I assume, back to the O'Grady farm? So I mean, look, at this point, you've just kind of got to laugh at this shit. And I mean, it is what it is. You can't. This is honestly the point where in this movie, and I even wrote it in my notes, that I couldn't really make sense of any of this stuff. And so, like, once you do that and you kind of come to that realization and you expect like nothing to really make sense anymore, and it's just not that type of movie, I can honestly see how some people can have a soft spot for the movie because you can just kind of just sit back and just like look at the ridiculousness that is the rest of the movie. With that said, this is my least favorite set of scenes.
This is without question my least favorite set of scenes. I literally have 2 notes that I took during this set of scenes. Two little sections of notes. But what I will say, to kind of piggyback off of something you said, throughout this whole film, Leprechaun's powers make 0 sense. I get him not being as powerful because he doesn't have his gold, gets his gold, still can't do half the stuff he can do. It just doesn't make any sense. We see him teleport, and then later on in the scene, we see him he fucking rollerblades for Team X Blades, or like he's Andy Brinker or whatever. Like, what the fuck is this, man? Like, it just doesn't work. It's not good. Here's what I wrote down for this set of scenes. I don't know if I would be scared or not if I was on the ground and a leprechaun was dancing around me. Yeah. If I was Nathan, I don't know if I would be scared or laughing because of the way the character is portrayed. Look, at this point, the leprechaun thing is out of the bag. We have the Lucky Charms commercials. So him being scary, I would just be like, oh, look at this guy. I would be hard pressed to be terrified at that point of a fucking leprechaun. I'm sorry, especially with those shoes. But also, I'm not gonna lie, I love Jennifer Aniston's line of "That was no fucking bear." That is good, or that was no bear, whatever she said. It was funny. The timing was good. It's about the only good line from her in this whole fucking movie, which she went on to be much, much better. I know Friends might not be everybody's taste, but she's great in We're the Millers, and that's all I'm going to say about that. That's pretty much all I have. The whole bear thing is just whatever. And to piggyback off of something else Brian said, which I like to do because he's smart and I can come back with that.
Hey. Now I like you with your shirt off. I appreciate it.
Whoa, hey, got weird on me. But no, I have a hard time playing into the ridiculousness of this film because when we talk about movies that are so bad they're good, like Guilty Pleasure Month, which we had a couple months ago, which was a lot of fun. We got to watch the shitty movie that is Bones, but we kind of talked about. Well, hold on, I'm gonna compliment Bones. First of all, Bones is better than this.
Okay.
Bones. Yeah.
Are we digging up Bones here?
We are digging up. Okay, Nico can disagree all he wants. Bones is much better than this because at least it has fucking Snoop Dogg. You must be outside of your mind.
And Pam Grier. Okay.
And Pam Grier. Yes, we do love Pam Grier. But my point is, there's a good movie there that we crafted together as a group of 4. We said this movie has the potential if we did this and if we did that. I got nothing for this movie. Not a fucking thing. There is no way to make this movie any better. 0. Zilch. None. And I will say, Leprechaun Returns improves upon this plot in here. I'm not just saying that because we had the star of that movie on. I'm saying that because it's actually better film, but not by much.
Yep. Okay, I agree. Um, man, on this set of scenes, where do I start? First of all, I want to say, how the fuck did Nathan think that was a bear? Are you kidding me? This man. I'm not gonna say again what I was gonna say because that'll get us canceled for sure, and I'm not in that business. But he's lacking a certain intelligence or mental capability, because what kind of bear you ever seen that just leaves shit that neat with a table full of shine shoes? First of all, it ain't Yogi looking for snacks, boo boo. Stop. That might be one of my biggest pet peeves of this whole movie, is when he said, it might be a bears. They come down the mountain all the time. Fuck you. And then also,
baskets.
hey yo boo boo, let's shine at these shoes.
Fuck those shoes. Ugly ass
Man,
shit.
fuck those shoes. The Leprechaun, though, in all seriousness, the Leprechaun might be the weakest villain that we've ever covered of any film that we've discussed on this podcast. Am I right or wrong? Because they beat the shit out of this Leprechaun. Anyway, Nathan then just fires off, Nathan fires off 6 rounds into this fucking bush like he works at a goddamn Dick's Sporting Goods, and he works at Bass Pro Shop where he just get all the ammo necessary. Like, no, bro. Like, if this Leprechaun's for real, you need to conserve the ammo until you're for sure you're shooting him in the face, because you just shooting your rounds into the bush is counterproductive, because if you run out of shells, that can't be a helpful thing. Man, and then you guys said it with the inconsistency. So I put in my notes, it was the same thing. One of the things I mentioned with Babadook, and I've mentioned it with the other couple of films, it's like inconsistencies about what the villain can and cannot do. I think I said it in Insidious 2 about how sometimes these villains can, in Babadook, it was like they can reach out and grab these people, but another time they needed to possess to be the bad guy. In this film, it's the Leprechaun can transport, and he can move here, he can be there. He can go through the cabinets in the kitchen like he's a villain running down the hallway in Scooby-Doo, but he can't jump inside the truck to, the same thing. Inconsistencies. If you're going to have this be a power, it has to be a power, right? And I guess they make up for it because earlier in the film, when the Leprechaun was like, oh, I'm getting my powers back, he'd been locked up for so long, whatever. Bad. All bad. To quote Kevin Nealon in Happy Gilmore, bad. All bad. No good. Go ahead.
All right, Tori patches up Ozzy's ear, and Nathan asks, where's the police? Tori still says it's not a leprechaun. Ozzy slips telling about the gold. She pulls Alex to the side and asks about the gold. It's in the well. So Tori takes a shotgun and heads to the well to get it. She reels in the bucket from the well and grabs the coins. The leprechaun appears and asks if that's his gold. Tori gives him the gold coins, and he says it sounds, looks, tastes, and smells like me gold. Tori runs back inside. He counts out the coins now and realizes one is missing. They go to leave, but when they open the door, he dives in and on top of Alex. He burns his hand on the burner. He appears from the drawer below and grabs Nathan's nutsack and runs off. Nathan and Tori chase after the leprechaun, who descends from the chimney. Nathan shoots him and he pokes him with the gun, and they assume he's dead. Not a chance, he says, and he runs off. More cat and mouse with the leprechaun as he rides a skateboard through the halls and rooms. They follow a noise and he's in the basement. Nathan gets close to the floor and he jumps through the floor and he shoots him into the basement. The phone rings and it's a leprechaun asking for the rest of his gold. Tori throws the phone on the ground and it rings again, and a hand comes out of it. Ozzy says the last coin is in his stomach. He says old man Grady might know how to stop him. Nathan, Ozzy, and Tori go outside and go to leave in the Jeep, but Leprechaun shows up. They distract him by throwing shoes for him to shine. Tori manages to escape while he shines his shoes up. Nathan and Ozzy go back inside the house. Leprechaun appears and hitches a ride behind the Jeep, but loses grip and he goes through a fence. Tori makes it to the center where O'Grady is at. The officer is asleep, and Tori finds the room number O'Grady is in. She wanders the halls and sees a shadow that looks like the leprechaun, but it was just a mop bucket. She makes it to her room, but the person in the wheelchair is the leprechaun. She runs away, and he chases her in the wheelchair. Tori makes it into an elevator, and then O'Grady's almost dead body falls through the roof of it. He tells her to kill it with a four-leaf clover, freshly plucked behind the well, and then he dies. And the next few scenes are the ending. Go ahead, Brian.
I don't have a whole lot on this because honestly, like I said at this point, I said this in the last group, but I was kind of done with pointing out stuff that didn't make sense because I was like, all right, I'm just gonna start looking at this movie as like, all right, it's not gonna make sense. Let's just watch it. And I will say I laughed at some of his as joke about him cooking his hand and him grabbing Nathan's nuts and skateboarding. Honestly, at this point, I was actually having a little bit of fun with it, to be honest. I was kind of whenever the Freddy tongue, or I guess in this case the little hand that came through the phone, I was like, come on with that. But and I will say like a few things that I noticed that I would do better was when Nathan had his head up against the floor, kind of trying to listen in the basement. Have something come through, stab his ass, kill him. I think that would have been, that would have added a whole lot to that. And also, 100% to me, cut this whole damn thing and this about going to the nursing home. I mean, there's no point for that little venture to go see O'Grady to me. Just have them figure out about the clover some other way. I think that was an extend the runtime type of scene, and I was not all for that. But that's all I had in this group.
So what I'll say is at least there's some humor here in this set of scenes. Like there's some actual funny stuff. Not that we're supposed to be watching it for this reason, but whatever. Look, biting Ozzy's ear is one thing they actually did right because earlier in the movie he tells him he's going to bite his ear off and turn it into a shoe. And so when Ozzy says, he said, I wonder if it's already made into a shoe, whatever he says. I thought that was a nice little payoff. Okay, finally we did something right here. But that's about it. Again, more nursery rhymes, which I guess that's just the thing here. Ring Around the Rosie, which is a depressing ass thing if you look up the meaning behind it. Fun fact. Again, I said at least they paid off the boot reference. All this for one goddamn gold coin. All of this. That's really fucking annoying. The ho 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 as he's coming down the chimney kind of made me laugh a little bit, not gonna lie. Just the mixing of two holidays kind of got me, don't know why. But, and here's Jennifer Aniston or Tori with a shotgun. And she's just kind of standing there, not fucking trying to shoot this thing. Like, I don't know, man. Just, Brian, like you said, I was kind of like you where I tried to just be like, okay, this movie is what it is. Let's see if I can get anything out of it. But this is not one of those so bad it's good movies, so it frustrates me that it's this bad and spawned an entire franchise out of it. It makes no sense. And how Looney Tunes is when he skateboards himself through the fence and there's a fucking cutout of him in the fence exactly how he went through it. That's very Looney Tunes, very Wile E. Coyote. It's just too far for me. It doesn't work. And again, this guy is apparently Brian Boitano on skates. Like, what the fuck, man? Like, it just, I don't understand. Look, everything at the nursing home, you could take that shit out. Every single bit of it. The only redeeming part about that is when he turns around and you think he's Old Man Grady, but it's actually Leprechaun. That's pretty much it. Everything else can go to hell. So again, if this movie, and look, this movie is campy, but if this movie had just gone all in on the camp, like some of the later sequels do that we talked about, I like them a little bit more because of it, because it's so over the top. It's very aware that it's over the top, and they're okay for those reasons. This movie just pisses me off.
Brian Boitano reference and Bring It On reference. Mike is on fire tonight.
And I don't know if Dustin heard it, but I made a Team X Blaze reference, pal.
I did. And, he is on fire. It's why both of our shirts are off.
I was just about to say that. It's got to be because y'all have no shirts.
Anyway.
Hot.
Oh, Jesus Christ. So I don't have a whole lot on this set of scenes, so I'm going to wrap it up quick. First of all, like I said earlier, the way he teleports through the cabinets and in various drawers and everything is very Scooby Doo. You know, like when you watch Scooby Doo and the villains run in the hallway and they go in one door and then they come out a door that makes no fucking sense, but it just happens. That's how the Leprechaun did in the kitchen scene here. So it's a very Nightmare on Elm Street ripoff when the hand comes through the phone, like you said, Brian. It's of the same ilk. Clearly a ripoff. Like there's no originality to that. There's no thought behind it. It's just, hey, what's something we've seen before that was a cool effect? Let's make a hand come through the phone. Fuck that. I do like you said, there's no point to the expedition to the nursing home. It's unnecessary. It does provide some of the cooler optics of the film. I thought they did a good job of making the nursing home feel creepy. Like when she's walking down the hallway, it does seem eerie, like something bad's about to happen. It's ominous, but there's no point to it. But I do like that when she gets to O'Grady's room, you see the shape of the shoulders, and you immediately think, "Ooh, I recognize that. That's what the Leprechaun looks like from behind." Because we've seen this bastard, running around for 90 minutes at this point. It feels like. But you're unsure, and you hear the voice, and it sounds like it could be O'Grady. But when he turns around, the revelation, like that was okay. I'm okay with that. I don't hate that. The rest of it's just bad. When she gets on the elevator and when she runs away, first of all, I don't like that he stayed in the elevator and tried to chase her down the hallway in the elevator. Especially, when he's a leprechaun that has teleportation powers, or at least we've been led to believe. Why the fuck is he sitting in this wheelchair trying to wheel his ass down the hallway? Not just teleport to wherever she's going. It goes back to what I said last time about his powers being inconsistent. I hate that shit.
It's fucking hilarious though. That scene is like really funny.
It is funny. It is funny. It is funny. Yep. And that goes back to what I said earlier. I respect his commitment to using various modes of transportation. What other movie can we say that we've seen a villain use rollerblades, a wheelchair, a couple of go-karts, like
Pogo stick, yep.
A pogo stick? It doesn't happen, so I respect that. But at the same time, once she gets on the elevator, how the fuck did his body get up there? And how was it compromised to the point to where it's just going to fall through the ceiling at the exact moment that is convenient to the storyline? That doesn't make sense at all. At all. But I don't really have as much of a problem with it because it is, it's okay because he gives her the knowledge that she needs and it serves a point, like it all comes full circle. Oh, she was going to the nursing home to find this out and she found it out, so it's redeeming. So at this point, the movie's so bad you're willing to forgive it, I guess. That's the only reason why O'Grady wasn't my least favorite kill, is because it's at least redeeming. So, I don't know. At this point, I'm seriously, like I said, I watched this movie twice this week, yesterday and the day before. At this point in the movie, I'm like, please, God, will you just hit the credits? Go ahead. Go.
I never knew 90 minutes could
That's what
feel
she
so
said.
long.
That's what she said.
I think I'd rather do planks.
All right, here's the ending. Tori races back in the Jeep, and Leprechaun is in hot pursuit in the wheelchair. Tori goes to the clover patch in search of a four-leaf clover. Leprechaun grabs her and now chases her. She falls over, of course, and she makes it to the road and sees a cop car. She sees a dead body. She stabs him in the eye with a nightstick. And the Leprechaun breaks into the car and he rips the cop's eye out, and he uses it as his own. Nathan shows up and shoots him with a shotgun. Tori tells them they have to get a four-leaf clover. The three start to look for the clover. Alex goes to the barn and rigs up a homemade trap as Leprechaun watches on. Tori says forget it and wants to give up and snaps on him for believing. She pulls up a four-leaf clover in frustration. Leprechaun grabs Alex and throws him to the ground and tries to put his head into the trap. Ozzy tells him the coin is in his belly. He gets on top of Ozzy and hacks at him with his shoe buckle. Alex slingshots the four-leaf clover into his mouth. Fuck you, Lucky Charms. Leprechaun starts to melt, it seems, and he falls into the well, and green lights fly out of it. Alex and Ozzy continue to joke. We see the Leprechaun try to come back out of the well, and Nathan knocks him down. He pours gas into the well and drops a match and bombs, and it blows away. The well blows up and catches on fire. The police show up in full force now as happy music plays. I'll not rest until I have my gold, the Leprechaun says, and the end credits roll. All right, Brian, what do you think about the ending?
I actually don't mind the ending. To me, like you get a decent effect with the old leprechaun like ripping an eyeball out. By the way, couldn't they just use the four-leafed clover that was already on the box and fell off? I mean, it still worked, after all this time. But anyway, come on, like Alex is the man, and fuck you, Lucky Charms. Like I said, is one of the best lines in any horror movie ever. It's amazing. I love it. This movie is getting another point on my rating scale just because of that line. Also, Ozzy's line, "You green son of a bitch." I don't know that I loved it, especially how Ozzy had been talking the whole time, and he came out with the "You green son of a bitch." It hit me the right way. I loved it. And those melting effects on the leprechaun, minus the green lights, okay, those were terrible. But those other effects I thought were really good. I mean, I'm sure Mike is going to hit on the budget, and if not, start typing away and find it. But all of that XXXX amount of budget had to have gone to this little set of scenes and that whole well explosion. But no, I like I said, I actually didn't mind the ending.
Well, that makes one of us, brother. Now, I will prop the effects up. I think that the effects and makeup here at the very end, this well scene in particular, I think the makeup on Warwick Davis looks cool, looks good. You kind of mentioned the budget going there. Yeah, pretty much, because this is a low budget film, and it must have all went right there. Okay. First of all, this interaction with Ozzy and Tori, where they're looking through the field for this clover, is annoying as hell. And good for Ozzy, fighting a good fight, telling her to just believe. That's nice. And then she finds the biggest goddamn four-leaf clover I have ever fucking seen in my life. That looked like a hat piece from the early 1900s. That shit was just so happened to find that four-leaf clover out of all of them. Look, man, I cut grass for a living. I find those little shits every day. Okay, I'll bring you one, Jen. Just call me sometime. Okay, just call me sometime.
Wow.
Nice little transition. I liked it.
You're welcome. Thank you. No, look, fuck you, Lucky Charms is great. And I believe that's what I said when I was a little kid as I ate out of my Lucky Clovers box. Because them shits taste the same. I'm not a picky food eater with a lot of takes, unlike one of our co-hosts. So, I
Motherfucker eats mayonnaise with a spoon anyway.
I was referring to a different co-host, but since
never mind. I'm sorry.
No. Since you want to be all offended, pal, I can bully you too. Listen. Damn it, made me lose my place, you son of a bitch. You got to edit this out, Brian. God damn, we're making Brian work. But no, look. This ending, it just went on a little long. Like, I wanted this movie to be over already. And again, I said it in the last set of scenes, 90 minutes felt so goddamn long. And this just kind of drags it out some more. But I will say, I also do like Ozzy's line about you green bitch. That is good. It was funny. It was very out of character for Ozzy for him to even say it. So I have a hard time saying Ozzy's name without saying it like Sharon Osbourne does, so you have to forgive me. But that's pretty much all I have. I mean, just first of all, I don't want to see another Leprechaun movie, so the fact that he still wants his gold coin at the end is rather annoying. But at least the makeup looks cool. I will give them an A+ on that. Looks good. That's all I have. I'm done. I'm so glad I never have to watch this movie again.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, brother. So the ending to me was just okay. It wasn't good. It wasn't necessarily bad, especially when you compare it to the rest of the film. Like, I like that the main characters live. I like that Alex lived. I like that Nathan was still alive. I like that Ozzy was still alive. The only exception is that I think Tori should have died earlier. She would have been a satisfying death to me because she was so insufferable. She was so stuck up. Tori, no offense, Jen Aniston, listen, Jennifer, I will take you to a nice seafood dinner, but you should have died early in this movie, because you were such a bitch. Anyway, the 80s effects on the ending, they worked here where they failed earlier with the truck scene with the gold, appearing in the truck. And what I mean by that is, Brian, you said that the green lights up the whale sucked. Actually, I was okay with it here. I don't know why. Like, it seemed better, at least, than the truck scene. And I think it might have been due to the fact in the way the leprechaun melted, the effects that they did with the dummy that they put in place of Warwick. Whatever it was, I think that the effects here worked where they failed earlier, and I was okay with that. Yeah, it was just okay. Honestly, I just felt relieved that the movie was over by this point. 92 minutes have never felt this long, ever. And yeah, yes, the leprechaun deserved to die, and I hope he burns in hell, to quote Samuel L. Jackson. But unfortunately, we get the voice over there alluding to the fact that this motherfucker is apparently Chucky, and that nothing can contain him, no death can contain him. Fuck that. Although it did spawn the best movie in the franchise, Leprechaun in the Hood. We mentioned that earlier.
Absolutely.
Fuck this movie. Thank God it's over. Go ahead, Nico.
Hey, you think Jason Voorhees and Leprechaun hung out in space and shit? Like they were just up there chilling at the space bar?
Neither one of those movies exist in my
Hey,
canon.
you know they
Go
were
ahead.
up there.
Thank you,
Hey,
Dustin. I agree.
Hey, you know they were up there taking shots of Jameson. Come on, brother.
Oh, well, if they were up there taking shots of Jameson, I'd be right there with them then. Fuck it. Sign me up.
I'm not even going to ask you any more final thoughts because I think y'all have pretty much defecated upon this movie enough. Let's just jump into fun facts. I got all mine from IMDb. We'll probably all have the same ones. One scene required the leprechaun to find and eat Lucky Charms cereal. General Mills gave them permission, but they were so upset when they saw the finished film that they revoked their permission. The filmmakers reshot the scene, replacing the brand name with an obvious spoof, and they also changed the kid's line at the end from "Your luck just ran out" to "Fuck you, Lucky Charms." That's an awesome fun fact. It needed to be said one more time because I know we've touched on it. According to Warwick, the movie was originally planned as a straightforward horror film, but Davis sought to add more comedic elements. Mark Jones agreed with this tonal shift, and they shot it as a horror comedy. Several scenes had to be reshot after the producers insisted that the film be made gorier to appeal to older audiences. George Lucas received a special thanks credit because Warwick Davis was under contract to him, and he gave Davis permission to appear in the movie. Warwick Davis started to regret making the film, but so many people loved it that it had 5 sequels. It was one of Warwick's favorites. And like Dustin brought this up, the scene where Warwick Davis chases Jennifer Aniston in a wheelchair, Aniston had to run in slow motion so that Davis could keep up with her, as he had trouble manipulating the wheels. And the last one I got is just a comment I got off of Dead Meat's kill count that I thought was hilarious. This guy said, "Those 100 coins are the movie's budget." And whoever wants to go next with fun facts can go ahead.
Shit, those gold coins are worth a lot fucking more than goddamn. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, we said all mine, so go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, I don't have any either. The only thing I wanted to plug was Leprechaun Returns.
Absolutely.
Because a friend of the show, Lyndon Porco, because a friend of the show, Mark Holton.
Yeah.
It's also a direct follow up as far as, I think it's Jennifer Aniston's daughter that's in it, or that's okay, Jennifer Aniston's character's daughter, not a real daughter, but is in it. So look, it's a better movie than this for sure.
Yeah, it's a
but
better
I
film.
definitely wanted to plug that one. So.
It is a much better film as far as tonally and everything else. Okay, so they made this movie for $1 million, which is the same budget that they made Unfriended for, and Unfriended's a much better film. Anyway, it made $8.6 million, which why the fuck does $8.6 million warrant a goddamn sequel? I'll never understand. Just like Wrong Turn, which we won't get into Wrong Turn, but Wrong Turn 2 is really good. But after that, the rest of the whole franchise is a bag of shit. I'll never understand why low grossing films get sequels. It makes no fucking sense to me. But yep, we should have reviewed Leprechaun in the Hood. I think next St. Patrick's Day we should definitely do that.
Isn't there 2 Leprechaun in the Hoods? Isn't there?
There's
like,
Back to the Hood, which
There's
is
Back to the Hood,
significantly
yeah.
worse. It's a significantly worse film than
Yeah,
this.
Exactly. Leprechaun in the Hood, actually, I wasn't joking. Like, it's probably the best one. And honestly, like you said, Mike, you're not sure why this movie warranted sequels, but also I'm not sure why it made this much money. The only thing I can think of is that it's like the movie The Room. The Room is a phenomenally bad movie, but it has this cult following because it's so bad. That has to be this movie, right? Right?
Yes.
Like, people have to like this movie just because it's so bad, right? Anyway,
A lot of people say it has charm. It only has knockoff charm to me, if you know what I mean.
Well, another fun fact that I read that I didn't save was that the VHS and DVD sales, skyrocketed because of Jennifer
Right.
Aniston's popularity.
Right.
And I think the only reason it has any, like a cult following is just because of how good of a role Warwick Davis did as Leprechaun. That's the only thing I can think of, honestly. Because he was good in his role, honestly.
Oh, he was.
Let's jump into
that, and
go
I
ahead.
think me and Nico talked about this a little bit. Like, it has a really cool VHS cover.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
It says Jennifer Aniston. So, like, that was, video wise, like, that's all you were looking for walking through the video stores for cool covers. And
yeah.
I mean, that's hey, I'm sure that's why.
God,
I would say one more thing is it's holiday themed. I think people might be, on day before, the day after St. Patty's Day, day of, maybe like, hey, let's just watch Leprechaun real quick. The only thing I can think of. All right, let's jump into the rating, least favorite kill and the favorite kill. Who wants to go first tonight?
I mean, I'll knock mine out of the way if you want.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I know it's gonna be bad.
Yeah. So okay. My favorite kill, Joe, the guy at the store where Alex took the coin to be appraised. And the reason it's my favorite kill is, like we said, it's at the very least, it's creative. We haven't had a pogo stick kill before. We've had all kinds of crazy kills on this show. Never pogo stick, and I respect the creativity. My least favorite kill was Mrs. O'Grady, because that old hag didn't deserve to just be pushed down the steps like that. What the fuck, man? I fall down my steps at least once a month. She didn't deserve that. Anyway, she didn't even know that he had the gold. She was rebuking him when he pulled up in the limo sipping the Jameson. Anyway, as far as my review of this movie, I thought it couldn't get worse after Terrifier. I thought it couldn't get worse after House of Wax. I said that earlier. It did. This movie just doesn't. When you put my man. Anyway, Ozzy and Alex, the only good characters of the film. The makeup was good, and that's the best things I can say about the movie. Is just I like the dynamic between two semi-main characters and the makeup on the villain. When that's my nicest thing I can say, it's not good, fam. Not good. This movie's 92 minutes, and it felt like it was 3 hours and 47 minutes. I'm going to go with a 2.0 out of 10.
I'll go ahead and go. Yeah, so honestly, Dustin, we have the same kills. My favorite kill is Pogo Stick Kill. My least favorite is Miss O'Grady because nothing to it. No reason to push her down the stairs. Although if you've ever seen the Netflix documentary The Staircase, maybe it was a leprechaun that did it and not the husband. Anyway, so here's what I'll say. I've said a lot of bad things about this movie. To be a little bit positive, I like the makeup. I don't necessarily think that the acting from Aniston and a couple of the others are terrible, but they're not really given anything good to work with. So again, I don't think the movie is shot well either. It's weird. It's funky. I don't know. There's just a lot about this that I don't like. I don't think it holds up. I don't think it ages well. Shout out to Warwick Davis though. Did a great job as this character. But I got to go with my heart, and I believe it's the lowest rating I've ever given a film. I'm giving this movie a 2.25.
I'll go next, Brian. My favorite kill, I wrote down none, to be honest. I didn't like any of the kills. Least favorite kill, I chose the cop neck break just because the scene was way too long and it was super unnecessary and the kill was very underwhelming.
Yeah.
The rating, I just wrote, let's cut to the chase. This isn't a good movie. The characters are meh for the most part. They make dumb decisions over and over. The writing is meh. There's way too much cat and mouse with this leprechaun and the kids. You could have cut out at least 10 to 15 minutes of that. I wrote overall still has a nice little charm to it to me. Warwick Davis is great, and the characters of Ozzy and Alex are fun, like Dustin said. Not a great movie, but has charm. I gave it a 4.25, so I'm not real high, but I don't think it's god awful and I hate it. It's god awful, but I don't hate it. I'll put it that way.
So I've already said my favorite kill and least favorite kill. They're the same as Dustin and Mike's, but the police neck break was right
Yeah.
there. It was right
Yes.
there. It was close.
Terrible.
For me. And this is going to be a hot take, but my enjoyment factor of this is pretty much the same as my enjoyment factor for Silent Night, Deadly Night. So, and to be honest, I gave Silent Night, Deadly Night a 5.5, but if I had to redo it, I would give it a 4.5, and that's what I'm going to give this movie as well. By the way, I cannot believe that Mike enjoys Audition better than he does this movie.
Because
Audition sucks.
Audition sucks, but at least the last 30 minutes of that movie made me interested. Nothing about this movie made me interested. Also, I will die on the hill of Silent Night, Deadly Night. You are out of your mind.
I like
Hey,
Silent Night, Deadly Night. I fuck with
I
it.
just said that it was the same exact. I just enjoyed it the same. I mean, shit, I
Fair
gave it a
enough.
4.5. Hey,
Fair
I
enough.
mean,
Yeah. So that gives us on this film a 3.25 rating. And Nico, I'm gonna save you some time. That's lower than IMDb. IMDb has it at
4.8.
4.8
with 23,845 reviews.
Look, I get this movie having the so bad it's good charm for people, but it didn't for me. Every movie that we pick for Guilty Pleasure Month, I'd rather watch.
Yeah,
But it's understandable, right?
I guess
Like,
so.
but
I
you
mean,
understand if someone does
Right.
have the charm.
Yeah.
Or like
well, like
Yeah.
I've said a couple times before on the show, like what the hell does IMDb know? We're the experts here. This movie has some nostalgic charm because, like Brian said, he watched him as a kid, so it's got the nostalgic. I did too. It didn't transition for me, but if it did, then I can understand because had it transitioned for me, then whatever. We all like different things. I like Rob Zombie movies. Nico hates them. It just means that my opinion is more valid than others. Go ahead.
Yeah, wait till Rob Zombies takes on the monsters and completely ruins it. I
But
saw
hey,
that.
like I
Hey, is
said,
that-
I was
Oh,
just
sorry.
going to say, like I said, this movie is a kids movie. If we're being honest, I mean, it's a kids movie. It's a kids horror movie. I mean,
Yeah.
I would rather watch
Well,
Ernest Scared Stupid
kinda-
and watch this.
come
Ernest
on,
Scared
Vern.
Stupid
What do you
is
mean,
fan-
Vern?
I'm about to say, Vern.
Yeah.
No, that movie's
Yeah.
great. What are you talking about?
No, I'm saying if we're talking kids horror movies, and I've already told you guys, hey, listeners, beware. Next Halloween, I've already called it. We're reviewing that movie, Ernest Scared Stupid. So,
Listen, if we're doing kids horror, there's a way to do it. Tales from the Crypt, even though it's technically not kids horror, that movie was really great, or pretty damn good. But that movie had Billy Zane. This movie didn't have Billy Zane.
And a lot of boobs, and that's not kids horror.
We'll ignore that fact, Brian. Thank you.
I don't even know how to end this.
just end this for God's sake.
Yeah.
man.
Hey, we appreciate y'all listening. This movie's kind of it's pretty terrible, but it's worth a watch at least once. We appreciate all the support. Y'all have a good one. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
And just want to remind everybody to don't go out there.